Now we're going to go on to the first video from the Tech Museum. We're going to have an interview with the Vice President of Content Development at the Tech, Alana Conner. So let's go ahead and roll that tape.
The Tech Museum moved into its current building in 1998, largely funded by Silicon Valley entrepreneurs. It's a multi-level structure filled with scientific exhibits, many of them aimed at young people. Many of the exhibits are participatory, like this simulation of a spacesuit used by astronauts outside the space vehicle. There's also a model of a strand of DNA made entirely of books, and this is where we conducted our interviews. Alana Conner is Vice President of Content Development at the Tech. I asked her about the criteria for selecting new exhibits.
We actually have a lot of criteria. It's pretty, the mark is pretty high for being an exhibit at the Tech Museum. So first of all, it does have to have considerable educational quality, meeting the needs not only of our usual visitors who are usually California students in grades 3 through 12, but also their parents and their grandparents and their friends from out of state and their friends who don't necessarily speak English. So looking at standard science and technology education, as well as appeal to diverse audiences, while capturing, what we do uniquely as a museum is capturing the spirit of Silicon Valley, and that is inspiring people to think about the problems in their world and how they can apply science to solving them.
So you're looking for some kind of practical results. You want to inspire kids to go out and become scientists and solve the world's problems?
If we can inspire some of our visitors to become scientists, that's great. But more broadly, we want people to be scientifically and technologically literate, that they can make good decisions when they grow up to be voters, or even in their decisions about consuming technology and science now. So yeah, I really see this as the center of public intellectual life in Silicon Valley, in a place where anyone can come and get a good background in science and technology.
Now, where do you get most of the ideas for the content? Do you or your staff come up with them yourselves, or do people from outside suggest them? Where do the ideas come from?
Well, true to the spirit of Silicon Valley, you know, we're kind of an open source platform. We have a lot of different sources for exhibit and education ideas. We do have a very talented team that we dream up some of them, but we have close partnerships with local corporations as well, where we harness their brains to our designs and get their input and indeed their ideas. We also have an open source platform on the internet for soliciting ideas for exhibits and educational programming from the whole world. This is called the Tech Virtual, and it's a place where people can go to contribute ideas, to respond to requests that we put up and other museums put up, as well as for museum professionals to swap ideas amongst within the industry.
Well, I think you have some permanent exhibits here that are here all the time, and then you also have some special exhibits for a limited time. What are some of your more interesting special exhibits?
So I can take no credit for special exhibits. That is in our marketing department under a wonderful woman named Elizabeth Williams. But recently we had Body World's Vital, which was the plastinated bodies show looking at health and sickness and ways to keep a healthy body. Prior to that, we had a large exhibition on Genghis Khan, who spread technology and innovation throughout Asia during his conquests.
I was not aware that Genghis Khan was associated with technology. How was he associated with that?
Oh, well, first of all, just as when you conquer continents, you take with you all the innovations you meet along the way. So just as a disseminator of technology, but also a creator of certain combat technologies.
Now, I understand that a lot of your exhibits are also interactive. You don't just look at them, but you participate, you do stuff. Can you give an example of one of your more interesting interactive exhibits?
Sure. In fact, that is this isn't an artifact museum per se. We don't just have collections and say, you know, this is a skeleton of a dinosaur. We really want people to learn with their entire bodies, to have visceral experiences that really burn into their brains these different scientific and technological concepts. So actually behind us here is one of my favorite interactive exhibits, which is our visitors come in and you get a petri dish and you put bacteria in it. It already has bacteria. You add jellyfish DNA, and the bacteria and jellyfish DNA combine so that a day later our visitors can log into a website and see that they've grown glow-in-the-dark bacteria, because the jellyfish DNA glows in the dark, and it's this very beautiful exhibit that demonstrates not only kind of bench practices, but also this is the very process or similar process that we use to make insulin for humans.
Now, I understand that the Tech also gives awards. You have something called the Tech Awards for scientific accomplishment. What kind of people win these Tech Awards?
Oh, so our Tech Awards program is actually what I first knew about the Tech Museum. This is a program that awards people who are using science and technology to solve real-world problems, often problems of poorer countries. So, for example, an exhibit in our Tech Awards gallery shows how these social entrepreneurs use plastic meshing to capture the water in mist and fog. This is in a drought-stricken place, and this meshing will capture the moisture and then channel it for human use.
I understand that you also have a contest for kids, the Tech Challenge.
That's right,
What's that about?
So it's funny, you know, we think of the Tech Challenge sort of as the Tech Awards junior division. Every year we invite teams of students in grades 5 through 12 to develop inventions to fight a real-world problem. So we just had the Tech Challenge event 2 weeks ago, and the problem was the Pacific garbage gyre, which is a swirling mass of plastic in the North Pacific, and this mass is the size of Texas. And so the kids were challenged to create a device that could separate plastic out of water without disturbing sea life.
Did anybody come up with anything workable? These
Well,
are kids now.
Yes. And so this is a great question, because many problems in the real world are much more complicated than we could represent in a challenge like this. In this particular case, the Pacific gyre is actually microscopic bits of plastic that are about a foot below the surface of the sea.
It's not like a huge visible dump you can see from outer space.
Yeah, no, and then in fact that's what's interesting to me about this problem. It's a problem that technology created, but that technology can't really perceive, at least not. You actually have to go there with big nets and scoop up the water and be like, oh, this is full of plastic confetti. So in the Tech Challenge proper, the kinds of devices, we're really trying to emphasize not only basic mechanical engineering, but also teamwork and the scientific process and the engineering process. The Tech Museum is a really special place. I've been here for a year, and I'm looking forward to many more years of producing a world-class science and technology museum that really empowers people to use science and use their own minds to make the world a better place.
So that was my interview with Alana Conner, the Vice President of Content Development at the Tech. Now, she spoke a bit about the Tech Challenge, and this is one of the Tech's big projects because it involves kids and gets them active. And we're going to talk about it a little bit more. In fact, we have some pictures of kids who have been involved in the Tech Challenge, and we're going to show those pictures and discuss them a little bit. So could we see the first picture of the Tech Challenge, please? Okay, so what are we looking at right here?
Okay, so this is a team of high school girls that entered the challenge. They call themselves the Giraffes, which is very cute and clever. So in addition to the creative contraption that the girls designed, they also get into the costumes and come up with really fun names. Like any good design challenge, sometimes the solution comes in the final moments, and these girls, right before they go up the test to the rig, had a challenge, so they're kind of problem solving that. I think there were a couple other giraffes as well that they kind of got together, but their device performed just beautifully in the end. So
okay, let's see the next picture, please.
So this team, the Trash Junkies, just had so much design enthusiasm. They had one of the most sophisticated and complex designs of any other team. Some of the kids and teams came up with very simple solutions to this particular challenge, and they went all the way. They said, we're not just going for the low points and a couple of plastic bottles. We're going to go for the bottle caps. We're going to have this protruding arm that comes out and captures things. So you can see they have something that slides out. They have ball mechanism that drops out to trigger the next step in the chain reaction. This one was one of the most spectacular ones to watch. In fact, they actually won an award for our most spectacular failure, which at the Tech we want to definitely celebrate that risk-taking, that mindset of the Silicon Valley innovator that says, I'm going to go for it. And sometimes it doesn't work. That's part of the design process.
And failure is just one step on the road to success, right?
It is very true. So we want to recognize them for that.
Okay, and I think we have one more picture. Do we have one more picture? Yes. There it is.
This just gives you a shot of the actual rig. As Alana was describing, we try to capture this real-world problem in some sort of simulated rig. So you can kind of see the kelp and the sea life that the kids have to design around, and some plastic bottles in there. So this is another creative solution the kids came up with, and that's one of my favorite parts about design challenge learning. When the kids start out the problem, looking at the problem, one solution is not even clear. But as they go and they figure out all these different ways to solve it, once they come up with a great solution, the day of the challenge, they get to see how everybody else approached the problem differently, and the infinite number of solutions that there was to this challenge. So you can really see that through
So
the
they're
kids'
really
contraptions.
working on their methodology, not just the final result, but learning how to collaborate, learning how to leverage their knowledge, learning how to utilize their resources for maximum effect, which are habits that will stand them in pretty good stead when they get older.
Definitely, and we believe these are the habits of mind that make Silicon Valley so unique and so successful. And when we think of our position within Silicon Valley as the Tech Museum, we want to inspire that. We want to teach kids those habits of mind. And in the Tech Challenge, especially, we recognize not only how their contraption performs on the day of the event, but they also have to present their design journal to the judges. So they capture all of the problems that they hit along the way. They talk about how they solved those problems. They really talk about how they each contributed to the solution to make sure that it was a true collaboration.
Well, it sounds like a lot of fun and pretty productive too.
Yes.
Now we're going to go on to our second video. Running an institution like the Tech Museum isn't cheap, and the Tech relies heavily on donations. And I was curious about how that really worked, so I spoke to Kama Fletcher, who is the Director of Individual Giving at the Tech. Let's go ahead and roll that tape.